All right, what's going on, everybody? You already know who it is. It is your boy, that guy, the NEWT here. And, you know, I put out a poll earlier, or a question, asking you guys, you know, what are you struggling with aiming? What do you want to get better in with Modern Warfare 3 coming up pretty soon? And a lot of people are saying, oh, I want to get better at tracking. I want to get better at aiming. So, or tracking or flicking. So I'm here to, you know, give you guys some tips and tricks on how to get better at flicking, tracking, and just some stuff to keep in mind when you go into Modern Warfare 3. Now, I'm going to link an article down and a couple of videos down in the description below, and you guys can check those out. And it's just going to basically help you get better at mouse and keyboard. And a lot of people are asking me also, you know, NEWT, where do you find these aim theory, you know, posts, tips and tricks and all that? So I'm going to link those down, and you guys are going to want to read that and watch the video, and it's going to really teach you some stuff when it comes to aim theory, tracking, flicking, and all that good stuff, right? So without further ado, let's get into it. These are just bots. I'm warming up, getting ready to stream. So if you guys want to check me out over on twitch.tv/NEWT, we'll go into some more tips and tricks on mouse and keyboard there. But let's get right into it. So the first thing you're going to want to do, right, is get your settings right. Now, a lot of people are asking me, no, NEWT, what are your settings? I am currently at 1600 DPI at a 1.9 sensitivity and a 1 ADS, and then my monitor coefficient is 0. If you guys are wondering why I'm playing at a 0 monitor coefficient, you can read the article down below. Basically, it's one of the best aimers explaining why 0 coefficient is superior to 1.33 or 1.78. So if you guys want to check that out, go ahead. But when it comes to aiming and you're flicking, right? Centering is always the biggest thing. Centering is always the biggest thing when it comes to lining up your shot, right? I imagine it like if you guys are bowlers, right? You're bowling, you have a certain step, you know, you have your left foot, your right foot forward. If you're throwing a ball, you know, you usually have your left foot or right foot forward. You don't really stand still. It's all about the setup. So centering, it's all about the setup, and centering, having good centering makes everything a lot easier. So you guys are noticing, I'm always kind of looking at where the enemy might be, and it makes shooting a lot easier. So I'm gonna flick over to this guy, so watch this. So you see how I flick there over to that guy? Basically, when it comes to flicking, right? A lot of people are going, I got a comment asking, you know, how do I stop over flicking? You guys are thinking about it wrong, right? You're not going to have a perfect flick all the time. It's what you do after the flick that matters the most. So right there, I'm gonna purposely over flick on this guy. See how I was just able to flick right back on? It's a recorrection that you have to really work on, right? And I got no hit rec on that guy. It's a recorrection that you have to work on. When you over flick, you're not gonna have a perfect flick all the time, and you have to recognize that when you're playing, you're going to over flick, you're going to under flick, right? It's just how it is. You are going to have to learn how to recorrect, and that is like one of the most important things, recorrecting when it comes to flicking. And it's just a style that I've learned. It's like some people don't recorrect, like sometimes they have just a perfect flick, right? But for me, I don't have perfect flicks all the time. So I'm always working on recorrecting my mouse. Excuse me, still getting over the sickness. I'm always working on recorrecting, and that's like one of the biggest things you got to get good at. Even when it comes to tracking, you're not going to track a target perfectly every time. Like right there, that recorrection. You're not going to track a target perfectly every time. Imagine it as you're going too fast, you got to slow down. It's like micro recorrections, right? And it's micro, like getting back on target. So when you're tracking, he is on a perfect arch. Sometimes you can, you know, have it perfectly, but sometimes you got to slow down or speed up mid-arch, right? And that's just like part of the recorrection process, especially when you're going to get into like tracking and playing games that have a lot of tracking. It's just about how you recorrect. Also, another thing is, and I noticed that when I'm playing with aim trainers teach you this. I'm running. I stop shooting. Like I stop running, right? And that's not like a really practical way to play. Like I could do that, right? But the main thing here is when you're doing that, you're recorrecting a lot. It really does teach you how to recorrect, because you're not using your keyboard to aim. What I mean by keyboard aiming is, say I flick here. Let me kill this bot. I flick here, like I'm here, and I'm gonna recorrect with like my keyboard. That's what I mean by keyboard aim. It's just a combination of things. Keyboard aiming, right? And that's just one of the things that aim trainers just like doesn't really teach you keyboard aiming, and that like helps with tracking. Counter strafing. This is just really good at like recorrecting. So I'm gonna flick to my right, and when I flick to my right, see how I recorrected there? It wasn't perfectly on him. Flick right here, that was perfectly on him, so I didn't have to recorrect. I already knew. Staying still, tracking somebody on an arch, you know, it's all those different things. Excuse me. So when you're like looking into aiming and you're looking into getting better, audio cues is also like another big thing. Like what you're listening to sounds, you're listening to everything. That kind of gives you like a tip on where people are. Like I hear people fighting over here. I heard this guy right here. So I'm just able to ADS, map knowledge, all that good stuff. I thought I heard somebody over here, but no. Another thing is with aiming, you're especially in Call of Duty, and you're not staying still. You're doing these movements. You got to get good at like moving and shooting, drop shotting. Like you got to get good at like drop shotting, jumping, like the screen shake. You just got to get used to it. And how do you do that? You practice. Like you're going to purposely practice when you're going around jump shotting, staying on target, jump shotting. You know how your crosshairs is. Where's the center of your screen at? My aim is pretty much the same, even at like far distances, right? I'm going to try to hit somebody across the map, jump shotting. That's just like one of the things that when it comes to playing Call of Duty, especially, that like you got to get used to jump shotting, you got to get used to drop shotting, you got to get used to moving, you got to get used to snaking, all those good things. And that's going to help you out with your aim a lot. Like it's not a simple flick, right? Like right there, that wasn't a simple flick. Like right here, I'm gonna try to flick, and I'm gonna try to jump shot and flick. You just gotta like practice these things, and the more you do it, the more comfortable you are when you're doing it. So it's just going to help you out like a lot, and it's going to improve your aim. Having a sensitivity that's not too high, that's not too low. It doesn't really matter if you're a wrist aimer or if you're like an arm aimer like me. These are just things that you gotta find out about yourself and like your aiming style and your play style. Like I like to use movement when I'm going for clips and everything, right? There's a time and a place for everything. Like right there, you didn't see me strafing back and forth. Well, there's no need because I'm on a head glitch. I don't have to move. I could just aim right here all day. I don't have to strafe back and forth unless he's going to try to hit my head and he's shooting back at me. Then I could strafe back and forth. But when it comes to playing on mouse and keyboard, you just got to get used to a bunch of different movement mechanics and all that when it comes to, you know, getting better and getting your aim better. When it comes to tracking, when it comes to flicking, you're going to over flick, you're going to over track. It's what you do afterwards that, you know, makes the big difference. So change your perspective of, I need to have this. A lot of people think I need to have this perfect flick. No, you don't need to have this perfect flick. You need to have a perfect recorrection, right? You need to have a perfect when I flick, I have to recorrect, right? If I'm gonna try to flick to these tires, I flick to these tires, flick behind me, I have to recorrect. But it happens so fast, it doesn't look like a recorrection, right? And that's just one of the things that you got to get used to. Everything happens like super fast, but when you slow it down, it makes more sense, right? I'm not tracking somebody perfectly. I'm not shooting somebody perfectly all the time. I'm just going around, aiming. Right there, I had to recorrect. But it happens so fast that you're not going to be able to see it. But I know in my head that I'm doing it, right? I overflick, my brain automatically knows. flick onto the target, recorrect. How fast can you recorrect? How fast can you know, get back on target? Tracking's the same way. So I hope you guys find this video useful. Get into the practice range, play against some bots, get better, and hopefully that it'll help you out, and you get better at practice. It's not going to happen overnight, but just go in, practice. I encourage you to do this when Modern Warfare 3 drops, and hopefully it helps you out. As always, guys, like I said, remember to stay blessed, stay humble, keep practicing your aim, keep practicing, you know, getting better, finding a sensitivity that's comfortable for you. What works for me might not work for you. It's all about finding your personal preference. As always, stay blessed, stay humble. I'll catch you in another video. Peace.